Okay, today I'm going to talk a little bit about what a comma splice, or sometimes you see it with a hyphen, what a comma splice is. So in order to understand what a comma splice is, we have to understand what clauses are, both independent and dependent clauses. And if you have a question about that, you can refer to the quick grammar review handout that I have in the Grammar Fun folder. But a clause, essentially, to review, is a group of words that have both a subject and a verb. So again, a clause is a group of words with a subject and a verb. Now, there are two kinds of clauses that we're going to talk about: the independent clause. And the independent clause has a subject, has a verb, subject, verb, and it makes sense on its own. So what do I mean by that? Leona teaches English 1A. That's an example of an independent clause. We have a subject, we have a verb, it's a complete thought, it makes sense on its own. So when we're talking about comma splices, it's the independent clauses that we need to worry about. But just as a review, a dependent clause would be something like, since Leona teaches English 1A. So I don't want to put a period there because it's not a period, it's not a sentence. Dependent clauses can't be sentences on their own. They start with words like since, while, because, if, and because they do that, they're going to be dependent on another clause that's got to be in the sentence. Since Leona teaches English 1A, she is making a little video about grammar. Okay, so this was our dependent clause. It's attached to an independent clause, and I put a comma there because commas go after dependent clauses when dependent clauses come first in the sentence. Anyway, back to the matter at hand, comma splices. Putting together two independent clauses with a comma only constitutes a comma splice. Now you might say, hey, but in publishing sometimes I see this. I see an author taking some creative license and putting together two independent clauses with only a comma. And I see it too. Established authors sometimes write fragments. The important thing, though, is to know the rules, and then you can bend and break them. So a comma splice would be something like, Leona teaches English 1A. I am learning about grammar. Okay, so we have one independent clause here and another independent clause there. We've put them together with just a comma, and no, we can't do that. Let's cross that out. Okay, let's talk about what you can do. You can use a semicolon. I have a colleague who calls this the love child between a period and a comma. Leona teaches English 1A, semicolon, I am learning about grammar. You can use that comma if you put something called a coordinating conjunction after it. Coordinating conjunctions are fanboys for and, nor, but, or, yet, so. So Leona teaches English 1A, so I am learning about grammar. You can also turn one of these independent clauses into a dependent clause. I am learning about grammar because Leona is teaching English 1A. I've turned this clause into a dependent clause by adding the word because. And because it's coming at the end of the sentence, I don't need a comma there, although it wouldn't be wrong to stick a comma there. What the comma would indicate, though, is some kind of contrast. And really, these ideas aren't too contrasting, so I'm not going to put the comma there. Notice though, in my example of the dependent clause, that when the dependent clause comes first, you do need a comma there. Okay, so that is comma splices in a nutshell, what they are, how to correct them. Hope this was helpful for you. Bye.